A sequel to Mary Poppins no one asked for. 54 years after the release of the original comes this sequel to a beloved classic, Mary Poppins, making this the longest interval between film sequels in cinematic history. I'm not sure if this is something to be proud of or not. Usually I stick to reviewing animated movies and TV shows, but I'm going to make another exception here because I needed this movie. Hey, at least it's not another pointless and heartless remake. Similar to how people felt about the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory remake, people were skeptical about this film, and so was I. A remake doesn't nullify the existence of the original, and a sequel, if done right, can revive an outdated franchise. Mary Poppins is a timeless classic, and luckily in a day where so many sequels pop up almost instantly, this one shows that it actually pays to wait. Mary Poppins is still practically perfect in every way here, and her beauty hasn't faded in the slightest. I loved this movie. Emily Blunt's portrayal of Mary was all her own, which an actor needs to do when encompassing such a beloved character. It can't be just an impersonation of the original, nor should it be detached from the original portrayal either. To me, Blunt fills these shoes flawlessly and is closer to how Mary is portrayed in the books than in the original movie, which I really appreciated. She's edgy and eccentric, but also whimsical and fun, which is a difficult balance to master. The children characters though, the sons and daughter of Michael Banks, were rather bland and generic, with nothing really all that interesting about them. Michael himself is trying not only to grieve over the recent loss of his wife, but is also trying to run a household while on the verge of losing their home. George Banks in the original was struggling with the constant grind of work life and keeping up a decent reputation that he was losing sight of what was most important to him: his family. Here, Michael is going through similar struggles, but it's much more about how he fails to let anyone around him help him. Mary Poppins turns up to help him put things right, similar to how she helped George Banks in the first film. This film has a very similar and familiar, unmistakable warmth to it. It feels timeless, old-fashioned, sentimental, whimsical and magical, and for me, it hit almost all the right notes. It was a comforting watch. The songs, though, ironically, did not hit the right note for me. They're not as memorable as the songs from the original film, sadly, and I guess in this avenue, this film is inferior to the original. It's sort of derivative of the first film, the result of endless gestation and development limbo, I suppose. Not surprising, since P.L. Travers, the writer of the Mary Poppins books, dismissed the first movie adaptation, and frankly, who could really blame her? Yeah, Disney isn't exactly famous for being fair with the original writers of the stories they adapt. I suppose the highlight for me was the animated sequence inside the porcelain bowl, which I would like to make a separate video about. It was wonderful to see traditional 2D animation again, and I wish there was more of it here. The sequel really did hit almost all the right notes for me, and this was exactly what I needed to see, especially while we are all in lockdown. It's not as good as the original, but I loved how it came so very close and left me with similar feelings of warmth and sentiment. I'm Mad Munchkin. Stay creative.